Today on Locked On Bama, we're going to call a bit of an audible. We were going to do Saban's all-time teams, but there's been some news happening, so we're going to talk about that instead, like college football playoff venues for the future and the 5 who could commit next to Alabama.
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson as me, Jimmy Stein as him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Doing great. Little discombobulated over the new playoff. It's a whole year away. What we're about to talk about, it's a whole year away, but it's such a, man, it's a sea change. It's like, wow, I don't recognize this sport anymore, but hey, what are you going to do? Embrace it or just be the old man shaking your fist at the clouds?
We typically are the old men shaking our fists at the clouds, but
that's a good point.
I'm sort of, what does bother me about the new venues and the new setup and the new dates. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie. I've been against the expansion,
right?
But at the same time, when I see this and realize that the first 4 games will be on campus. And for 2024, let's just start there first. The 2024 season, it'll be the first game will be on Friday, December 20th, 2024. That will be a raucous scene. That really will be cray-cray. And then Saturday, you're going to have 3 games. So I love that. Saturday, December 21st. I mean, right before, Christmas, you've got 3 different games going on. They're all on campus. And that could be really cool. So I am excited about that. And again, I'm going to embrace this thing because I have no choice.
Yeah, we have no choice. That's it.
What I don't like after that.
At this point, you embrace it, or what are you upset about? I mean, you're just going to start watching Formula One racing or something? I mean, I think you either fully embrace it and love college football. I mean, complaining about it's doing nothing. The toothpaste is out of the tube. It's never going back to how it used to be. This is it. The expanded playoff is not just the future, but the present. It's here, and it's not changing.
Then the quarterfinals, okay, I do start to get a bit of a gripe here. I guess. Maybe not. I mean, it's Tuesday, December 31st. The whole Tuesday thing bothers me, but it is December 31st, and there is only one on New Year's Eve, which I like because I'm just hoping that game's at like 6 or something. That would be better. I think that gives everybody time to go to the game, do their thing, and then the winning team can go out and party, and the losing team can just go home and sulk, I guess, instead of partying and still get to bed early. But Wednesday the 1st, you got the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the All-State Sugar Bowl. Okay, now I'm digging that because that sort of reminds me of the old school bowl setup. The semifinal. Yeah. Here's again where they may have dropped the ball a little bit. I don't know. The semifinals are on Thursday at the Orange Bowl, January 9th, Friday, January 10th for the Cotton Bowl. I know why they're doing that because they don't want to go up against the NFL. I get that. The NFL is a juggernaut, and I just can't believe there's not a way that the NFL – look, the NFL probably doesn't give 2 rips about college football. Everybody's like, the NFL always wants to call – no, they don't really care. They've got a 50-year plan. The NFL's got everything going on. They're way ahead of college football. So, I guess I would have rather both of them been on Friday. I think that'd be a little cooler. I don't like the idea of doing one Thursday night, one Friday night. I mean, why not just do them both on a Friday night? Why not just do that?
Maybe because here's my answer just off the top of my head. Thursday night is a built-in audience. There's already an audience for Thursday night football because of NFL Thursday night football. And so there's an audience that's expecting a big-time football game on Thursday night, and it's just sort of a football night now. So I guess that's why they're comfortable putting one of the playoff games on a Thursday night that's not specifically tied to a holiday.
Maybe also because if you did it on one game or 2 games on Friday.
Yeah, one of them would be like at 3 o'clock on a Friday.
One would be at 3 o'clock, and therefore you're interfering with a work day again.
On a work day. Yeah. I mean, that would be weird to be, yeah, that would be weird, that a game would be played on a universal work day when people are generally at work. Of course, so many people work from home now. I guess that's another topic, but I'm sure that's the reason why.
Jimmy, of course, broadcasting today from Marsha Brady's bedroom. Some people were like, geez, Jimmy,
Yep.
what wood paneling, bruh?
Well, Marsha was my dirty talk.
Um, uh, Overall, though, okay, so then let's go to, I want to go to 2025 just for the heck of it and see if they do any better. All right, so December 19th is Friday. It's the same setup. Friday, you're going to have one game, and then Saturday, the 20th, you'll have three games. And again, these are all on campus. So what would be really interesting about this is if somebody from the SEC has to go to Ohio State or Michigan, which could very well happen. And I guess there's a drawback because, I mean, I've been in Ohio, and I just drove to Michigan. It was snowing yesterday. Like there was snow coming down.
That is crazy. Yesterday. That's crazy. It is hot in lower Alabama today.
I know. And, so if one of the northern team has to come to Alabama or LSU or wherever, it won't be as big a deal because in December, I mean, it's not awful cold here, but it's cold. It's just cold. It's cold to us. I mean, we get all ashy and cold and whatever. All those guys won't even worry about it.
Right.
Then the quarterfinals, you have the Cotton Bowl at Jerry's World on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, you'll have three games. That'll be January 1st, of course. You have the Capital One, the Rose, and the Sugar. Then the college football semifinals will be the Fiesta Bowl on the 8th and the Peach Bowl on the 9th. Again, both on evenings. And then the college football championship will be Miami Gardens, Florida at Hard Rock Stadium. I guess the one thing that disappoints me a little bit, Jimmy, is I was hoping for some other venues. Look, this year, the national championship's in Houston. I have no problem saying I've been to all the national championships Alabama's been in since 1992. And I can tell you the idea to put a national championship in Levi Stadium was an abysmal failure. Just god awful, just stupid. It didn't work. There were people on the street that didn't know the game was taking place, and it was overrun with Clemson and Bama fans. And they were like, "What's everybody doing?" But I like the idea of it being in Houston this year. It's different. It's just out there, and hey, let's go try some new places. I've seen all these other places like on this rotating basis. Why can't we do another SoFi Stadium? Shoot, there are a lot of places that have new
I think I've explained this before on the show, but I'll explain it again because a lot of this is news to a lot of people, and I'm speaking in generalities. But in terms of like Luke's, like why would they play it in Northern California as a terrible venue? And by the way, I agree. They should have picked somewhere else for that game. But this is what's happened. It's all unofficial. There's no written rule anywhere. But in generality, what happens is for hosting the championship game, what the NCAA, and it's not really the NCAA's tournament, so I guess really I should say the CFP people, the people that run the playoff, between the 5 power conferences, they want each power conference to be a host. So otherwise, if they just did a bid and they did it on where the biggest crowds would show up, every year the national championship game would be in Dallas or it would be in Atlanta. It would be somewhere in the Southeast. It would be in a warm weather place. It would be near an SEC school. And they wanted each conference to host it around. That's why, like, when they played in Northern California, that was the Pac-12's game. When they played it in Indianapolis 2 championships ago, that was the Big Ten's game. And when they played in Houston, I believe even though there are no Big 12 schools specifically in Houston, they're playing it in Texas and playing it in Houston, sort of the Big 12's game.
But Houston
is in the Big 12. Houston is in the Big 12 this year, but that's a Big 12 game and not an SEC game. I think the SEC is Atlanta, New Orleans, Miami.
Well,
so
ACC,
anyway,
Miami. Yeah.
But that's the explanation. The CFP wants each power conference the opportunity to sort of host, and by that I mean a game in their footprint, so they feel a part of things. I know everybody in the South gets frustrated with this and they don't care, but it is true. And Luke agrees with this also. You have to be very careful not to turn college football into a regional sport. Most of the interest is in the South. Most of the winning is in the South. Most of the fervor and the passion is in the South. But if it just turns into a Southern sport, that's really bad for college football. College football needs the West Coast. They need the Midwest. They need the Northeast. We need it to be a national event and a national sport, and that's what they intend by moving the championship game around and not just sticking it in the place where there's going to be the most interest, which, as we all know, is somewhere in the South.
Jimmy, we're going to stick with this for a second because I got a few more points, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some transfer portal additions and subtractions, and then we're going to talk about those 5 guys that could commit to Alabama next, which was a story on 3. But right now, I need to tell everybody about Built Bar. You looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories? Then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. Built. You got to try this. If you're like me and you want to make a healthier snack choice every single day, but you don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing you won't think they're good for you. You just got to go try them. What makes them so good is they're covered in 100% real dark chocolate, not this screwing around light chocolate. Dark chocolate, and they come in unbelievable flavors like churro and peanut butter brownie and cookies and cream. I'm not sure how they do it. I'm not a scientist, but they know what they're doing. Look, they only have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. You can get them at Walmart or Sam's Club or on Amazon. You can also go to built.com and get them right there if you just want to go straight to the sauce. If you're close to Sam's Club, just run in, grab you a 13-bar box. If you're close to Walmart, run in and get you a 4-bar box. If you're an Amazonian, you can, like a Wonder Woman, then you can get them through Amazon or just go to built.com like I do. Whatever you want to do, just go get you some Built Bars. You will absolutely love them. Jimmy, on tomorrow's episode, that's when we probably will, assuming no other news happens, we probably will switch back to, we want to do this all Saban draft. And I've got here's the way, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there for you. I was going to trick you with the parameters or surprise you. Here are the parameters. The first show is going to be the offensive team. So we're drafting all offense. Okay. And by drafting, I mean, like, if I take Bryce Young, you can't draft Bryce Young. If you take 2, I can't take 2 or whatever. You know how it works. Right. And you can do 4 wideouts, 1 running back. You can do 2 running backs, 3 wideouts, no tight end, whatever you want to do. But you got to have 5 offensive linemen.
5 linemen. Do we have to have a center and guards, or can it just be 5 linemen?
I think we just do 5 linemen.
I think we do 5 linemen because, I mean, I have this philosophy that I think most coaches agree to that was like, hey, if your 5 best players are tackles,
play
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, it's your 5 best. I mean,
but
Andre Smith would have been a heck of a center. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right. I mean, just put him at center. So, yeah, I like that. Just 5 linemen. Doesn't matter whether they play tackle, guard, or center.
So tomorrow will be offense. The next day will be defense, and you can determine if you want to be a nickel or cover 2 or blitz package or whatever you want to do. I know what I'm going to do, and we will flip a coin again to see who goes first, and then we'll do a snake draft where the first person goes, next person picks 2, next person picks 2, next person picks 2. That's what we're going to do the whole time. So, all right, Jimmy, I do want to go back to this whole thing. What you had a good point about the other regions being involved in the college football playoff. Number 1, by the way, why the heck can we do a playoff game or a national championship game or a playoff game in Vegas? Vegas has this awesome stadium.
Pac-12. That's the Pac-12. It would be the Pac-12's game.
It's I know, and they played their championship game there.
I think I know people say Pac-12 doesn't care. I think there's a number of good venues. Rose Bowl, SoFi Stadium, Las Vegas, where the Cardinals play is fine.
Sure.
So I think there's several solid choices out in the Pac-12, and why they stuck it in Northern California, I think that was a goof. I mean, I get the Pac-12 hosting, but there's other good options, in my opinion.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to say about it being a little too regional this year, I think I brought this up on the podcast yesterday. I really do believe this, and I'm sort of anti-Pac-12 just because Rick Neuheisel is so pro Pac-12. And he, there's part of me, it seems like Rick Neuheisel and Chris Childers on Sirius XM, they want to make it where, have you heard about the new proposed plan on mortgages, where the people with the better credit pay more for their mortgage to make up for the people with the worse credit, so they can have a better shot at paying off their mortgage. Or I don't get into me with the finance, and I'm not trying to get political. I'm just saying part of that sort of seems like what's going on here. Everybody's like, look, we should make a rule where only so many 5-stars can sign with. I'm like, wait a minute. Alabama and LSU and Georgia and Florida have put more effort and resources and passion into their programs and money and time. So, yeah, they're going to reap the benefits. Oh, and people in LA say, well, there's always more to do in LA. That's not our fault. That's great. There is more to do. That's awesome. And it's a beautiful time, and you can be surfing, and there are buxom nude women on roller skates everywhere you look.
There is?
Well, maybe I'm thinking somewhere else. But anyway, but it's great. California's got some positives. It's not great. And it's got more to do than Alabama does. We all agree with that. But because Alabama concentrates on its football program so much, they shouldn't be penalized. Neither Georgia nor Ohio State nor Michigan. These programs put a lot more effort into their programs than some of these others in the Pac-12, and that's just undeniable. That being said, I understand the importance of having this thing be more national. And the Rick Newhouse always brings up, like this year, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and DJ Uiagalelei, all from California. And he was talking about last year. One was at Ohio State, one was at Bama, one was at Clemson. They're all starters, and those are all top 5 teams they were at the time. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State's fault. They outworked the Western teams. And so the Pac-12's got to do something about that. I would say the same thing to Syracuse. Syracuse, you got all the New York area. I mean, I know it's not a football hotbed in terms of high school football, but man, Syracuse should be able to sell some stuff. I mean,
I agree.
It is weird that they have the Carrier Dome, and the Carrier Dome doesn't have air conditioning, but other than that,
I think a good way to explain it too is, I don't know all the details here, so ignore this story like it's breaking news, because I don't know the whole story. But apparently some years back, a lot of investors, including some prominent names, put some money together, and they were going to buy a huge piece of property in Mobile, Alabama, and build a NASCAR level track that rivaled or surpassed Talladega. And they're going to go to NASCAR and say, we guarantee the state-of-the-art facility. We guarantee a massive crowd. We guarantee huge interest. This is going to go over great. It's going to be a sellout. People are going to go crazy about this. And NASCAR's answer, apparently, is something like, yeah, duh. We know we can put 80,000 or 100,000 NASCAR fans in Alabama because we've been doing that for years. We need a NASCAR race in Canada. We need one in California or New York because we're trying to grow our sport. Doing another race in Alabama does nothing to aid NASCAR. NASCAR's already massive in the South. It's big in Alabama. Where NASCAR's not big is in other areas of the country where they're trying to grow the sport. So college football just very similarly, doesn't need to just be a Southern thing. It needs to be a national thing, and frankly needs to be an international thing, at least to some extent. And that's why we're seeing things like in week 0 this year, Notre Dame will play Navy in Dublin.
Yeah, and Houston may play Kansas in Mexico. That's kind of weird.
And it is.
By the way, I'm like, why are we doing that to Mexico? Can't we come up with something a little better than that?
I actually know the guy who is the Keith Jackson, the late Keith Jackson of Mexico. Every week he calls the Mexico National Game of the Week on the radio in Spanish. His name's Oscar. He's been to Tuscaloosa. He likes Alabama a ton, loves Nick Saban. But he is literally like the Keith Jackson of Mexico, and all his thing is college football. And every Saturday he's got the Mexico National College Football Game of the Week that's broadcast all over the country.
Did you ever see The Simpsons where they were doing the Monday night soccer game, and he's like, "Are you ready for some soccer?" And they had a big soccer game in Springfield, and Kent Brockman, who was like the announcer, he was there. He's like, "The center fielder holds it, he holds it, And like you could tell all the Americans were getting bored. And you look over the Mexican broadcast, and the guy goes, Centerfielder gets it. He holds it, holds it, holds it. It's just the different perspective of the way you look at it. Pretty funny. We were going to talk some transfer portal. We're not going to, because really we're out of time for this particular segment. I want to talk about the recruits next. Did want to mention, I know, set your faces to stunned, but TJ Finley's in the transfer portal. So
interesting.
Yeah, if Alabama could have just held on another week.
I think that's a sign that TJ Finley and Auburn fully expects to land one of the bigger names in the quarterback transfer portal, which is probably Casey Thompson transferring from Nebraska, or Peyton Thorne transferring from Michigan State. I think one of the two, probably Casey Thompson, very likely to end up at Auburn, and that directly affects Alabama. That's who Alabama would be playing this fall, and I'm not going to make him out to be something he's not. But I will say there is absolutely no question in my mind he is an upgrade over what Auburn had, and he will make Auburn a better team. Is Casey Thompson a threat to win the Heisman or be a first-round pick? No, but he will improve Auburn, assuming that's who they sign, and there's no question in my mind he would be the starting quarterback.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about these 5 commits that could be committing to Alabama next. And we're back. So this is 5 dudes, according to On3's Joseph Hastings, friend of the program, friend of mine. I think he will tolerate you.
He's forced to tolerate me.
Okay. 5 guys that could commit next to Alabama, one of them being DeMarcus Riddick. We don't need to spend a ton of time on this necessarily. This is something we have prognosticated. But Joseph Hastings does say, I still firmly stand by my On3 recruiting prediction machine that I put in 2 months ago for Riddick to flip to Alabama. So that is a nice feather in the old cap.
Let's hope it happens. I love DeMarcus Riddick. We can't allow one of the top prospects in the state of Alabama to play for Georgia. Not only recruiting's a zero-sum game, and what I mean by that all the time is it's a big deal if DeMarcus Riddick plays for Alabama, but it's also a big deal that he's not playing for Georgia.
Correct.
If that makes sense. I mean, so you kind of win twice when you flip Riddick from Georgia. Now you don't have to play against him. Now he's playing for you. He's an in-state guy, really good prospect. So Bama Insider, we're confident this is going to happen. But, hey, it's recruiting in 2023, so we'll see.
The other one he has, the next one he has, I should say, is Kevin Riley from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So Alabama should have an in there. And he's the number 9 running back in the country. I think Alabama likes him a lot. I think he likes Alabama a lot. I believe he ends up at Alabama as well.
Yeah, home run hitter. That's what I think of when I think of Kevin Riley from Tuscaloosa County Wildcats. Local running back, just like Brian Robinson was at Alabama recently. B-Rob played at Hillcrest in Tuscaloosa. Riley's at a different school, but he's a local back. Alabama likes him a lot. I don't think he's going to commit until he participates in camp this summer. But I anticipate Kevin Riley being part of this class at Alabama. Home run hitter. He's a guy, you can hand him the ball on your own 10-yard line, 90 yards later, it's a touchdown. He'll dial it long distance. The thing about him is getting bigger, stronger, tougher, and becoming a little bit more of a tackle breaker.
Okay, this next guy that I'm going to throw out there is Daniel Calhoun. I don't want to spend a ton of time on him because I want you to talk a lot more about this next guy. Daniel Calhoun is somebody we have brought up before, big offensive lineman. We're still looking for the first offensive lineman for the 2024 cycle, and it could be Daniel Calhoun. So hopefully that happens. It looks like his official to Alabama will be June 10th through the 12th.
Massive prospect, massive priority target for Alabama. Fits neatly with the last few offensive linemen that have signed with Alabama, and this is a massive kid. He's really big, but that's how Coach Saban has liked him lately. They've signed nothing but jumbo-sized offensive linemen. Calhoun's another one. Opposite of Riddick, here's a Georgia kid we're trying to recruit from Georgia, keeping him away from Georgia because Calhoun, just like Riddick, it's kind of getting to be a broken record, but this is an Alabama versus Georgia battle.
Yeah, and he is from Roswell, Georgia, by the way. And then finally I want to talk about 2. Jeremiah Beeman, who I like a lot out of Parker in Birmingham. Again, I think he's sort of a must get. It would be ironic if he committed to Alabama pretty soon, because I know the Auburn sites have been talking him up a lot here recently. He's a really good player, long arms. In the pictures I've seen,
Yep.
he's got long arms, unless somebody photoshopped something. He's got some really long and I like him a lot from Birmingham. I don't really know who to compare him to just yet.
I do. I got a comp for him because it reminds me a lot. I even went back and looked. He's nearly identically sized and built to what Quinnen Williams looked like in his junior year, who was also inner city Birmingham. And I'm not saying he's Quinnen Williams. It's so unfair to the kid to say, hey, you remind me a lot of a guy that became the National Player of the Year and the third pick in the draft. That's not fair, but he's a lot like Q. He's sort of thin. He's going to have to put on good weight at Alabama. I would almost expect him to have a redshirt year, but so did Q. Yeah. And then look what Q became. And I think Jeremiah Beeman's a lot like that. He just has to add some weight. He does have long arms. He's an interior pass rusher. He lines up. He'll line up as a defensive tackle, but he can rush the passer just like Q.
The final one is an interesting one. Cameron Beavers from Bay Springs, Mississippi, a defensive lineman, sort of an under-the-radar cat. Y'all do have him listed as a 4-star, I believe, on three. I'm looking here. Yeah, you've got him as a 4-star. And he is, I mean, under the radar is sort of a bad way to put this, because he is the national 136 guy in the country. But I guess when you're talking about recruiting for Alabama, 136 can be a little under the radar. But a big, big kid. Let me see what he's listed at: 6'4", 323 pounds. Good God, have mercy, the size.
Yeah, and he's a lot like another Mississippi kid that's currently on the team, in Jaheim Otis. I mean, that's going to be the comp here because he's Jaheim Otis sized. He is an interior run-stuffing nose guard type. Alabama loves him, by the way. I know he's ranked 136 in the country right now. I'm sure that's a number that's going to go up. It's still early in the cycle, but Alabama has him as he's a very high priority for Alabama that you would think would be reserved for more of a top 50 player nationally. They really like him. Huge. Can't teach them to be huge. They are or they're not. But Cameron Beavers is a guy that today I would feel very confident about will ultimately be in Alabama's class. But you're going to have to beat a lot of good programs to get him.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. I am excited about our all Saban offensive draft tomorrow, and then we'll have the defensive draft the day after that. So be looking forward to that. And until tomorrow, everybody, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.